Sawadee Cup and welcome to another episode here for the Funklepod and for the academic corner of the Funklepod. Again, it's been a few busy weeks since we've been together here, but now eventually the semester has come to an end and a week of workshops has come to an end, which was really cool. I mentioned before in a few of my episodes here in a few of the academic corners that I was lucky enough to be part of like something that's called Innovative Teaching Scholars here in Thailand, organized by Stanford University from the US, which was kind of nice to. And we've done like workshops and things like this and seminars, however you want to call it, over the past 2 years. It was all online. And now it was the first time it was in person since the researchers / coaches have been from Stanford came to Thailand, and we had like a week of on-site, in-person workshops, which is really cool to also see those people in person, even though you know each other for 2 years already. You're like, hey, that's cool. And also to just exchange ideas with other academics, people in the field, even students joined the workshops too. A few of those they asked us to suggest a few of our better students that we would think would benefit from joining. So we did so. So some of our students joined, and even some people who work for the sponsors from the companies that fund the whole thing also joined. So it was mostly academics / lecturers, but then also a few students and a few actually people from the real world, if you will, which was really cool. So it was nice to just collaborate for a week and work on different topics and so on. And I'm emphasizing this right now and talk about this right now because for me that's pretty important. Because sometimes, during the semester, you have the colleagues in your faculty, of course, that you talk to all the time. But you all struggle with like similar things. For if you're in the same faculty, right? You have the same students and the same experiences when it comes to admin. I don't want to say issues when it comes to admin interaction and so on, right? So now it's just cool to like also exchange ideas and see what other universities are doing, what other researchers, academics, lecturers are doing, how they handle things and so on. So sometimes during the semester, like the motivation might drop a little bit because you're like, I struggle with this, I struggle with that, another deadline here, another deadline there, oh my God. But then exchanging with like other like-minded people who have similar experiences, but maybe different angles, how they tackle it, is pretty interesting. So I did enjoy that a lot. I took lots of motivation out of that again. So huge props to Stanford and all the researchers and coaches who came and who made this happen, and the organizers who made that happen, and everybody who hosted the workshops. We hosted the workshops like in different facilities. Like one of the sponsors for like the sponsoring companies hosted one workshop, then 2 unis, like our uni, and then another university hosted like a workshop, and then also like another affiliated learning center hosted the last workshop, which was great. So different places, they all have a different vibe to it, right? So you're not always in the same room. Like they all have like some different atmosphere. Just also fosters, I think, more creativity rather than being in the same room all the time. So it's also one thing I will take away for next semester. I'm already planning, of course, that I think just sitting in the same way in the same room all the time is also like a detriment to creativity, in my opinion. So I will try to change things up, at least to some extent. It's going to be difficult with like the big classes, of course, but I still have a few ideas that I will also discuss on this podcast, of course. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to trying also to foster more creativity there. Okay, so that's one thing that I wanted to quickly share, just how happy I was with like attending all those workshops and meeting all those different people. So if you're one of those people listening / watching, nice meeting you, nice working with you, nice collaborating. That was really fun. And we should do that more often. We should find a way to do this more often, like lecturer exchange or something, creative thought exchange. I don't know how we're going to call it, but we should have this more frequently. I know we always talk about it and we try to do it online, but of course online is not the same. So we should do this more often, maybe in person. And it's not every week, obviously, if we don't have time for that. But I don't know, once every few weeks, month, whatever that might be. But I think that would be cool if we could do that, even if it's in an informal setting or something. So I would love to have something like this. That would be cool. Like I feel way more motivated and creatively challenged / inspired now after all of this. So thanks to everybody who participated. There was lots of fun and I did enjoy it a lot. Then the second thing I wanted to talk about today in the podcast today is one thing that we also discussed in those workshops, and it is collaborations, right? Collaborations not amongst universities or amongst scholars, which is also important, might be a different episode, but collaboration between academics, classes, and companies in the real world. So my colleague did a great presentation on that in our workshop, so I just piggyback up on that because I'm doing this a lot as well. And most of my classes, especially like in the classes then in later stages of the university journey of our students, like in the fourth year, I always have real world implications in my class. So if it's the digital strategies class, for example, they always work on real projects / with real clients. So they have to pitch to the client. The client will give them feedback. You know the drill, you can imagine the drill, right? So it's always real world implications. There's always a collaboration. I also, and with help of my students, of course, a student team usually helps with that, also organize a conference. It's called Digital Strategies of Tomorrow. It's once a year, part of the Digital Strategies class, always in end of November usually. We just had that. That's also why the pod was lacking a little bit, because it was just very exhausting to get people involved. So we invite some speakers, usually like C-suite level speakers from companies in the digital space. So this year we had the VP of Agoda, so thanks for joining again. We had a CEO of Fastwork, also thank you very much for joining, a very motivational talk. And we also had the head of e-commerce from GQ. So also, again, thank you for that. Also like very insightful talk. So we try to really have some C-suite level speakers there, but not only to show off, of course, but also to inspire our students and tell them like how they got there. Usually it's never like a straightforward career line. They talk very often about like, I know how they had to take different detours and how they didn't plan to be where they are right now, but opportunities arose and then that's how they took it. And so that's cool, right? So, but not here to talk about that event, but just saying, so we're trying to have those speakers, those inspirational, motivational speakers that can also share real insights. So, for example, Mr. Hughes from Agoda shared like great insights on like how Agoda also had to pivot during the pandemic to try different things. That was fantastic. Getting those speakers is not easy. My colleague in his presentation said like when he tries to collaborate with companies from the outside, he's got a 20% response rate usually, and I can totally attest to that. Like, might even be less. I cannot count how many LinkedIn messages / emails I send to people trying to explain what we're doing and why we would like to have someone from the company joining us. Maybe 50% I get a reply, but then they just ghost you eventually. I'm like, okay, yeah, you would have to come out to our campus and we would like, then they just ghost you, or they feel overwhelmed because they didn't expect that we actually have standards. So I tell them it's not just going to be like a basic, I don't know, like advertising presentation, like not just introduce a company, but we want some insights and have actual topics that we would want to have covered. Then they start ghosting you, for example. So it's not easy. So I understand that not everyone is doing it, but I was a bit surprised seeing how many people that were listening to the presentation seem to be like, how to say that? I thought more people would like nod along, like, yeah, sure, that's how we do it, rather than, oh, that's how you do it, which is great that many people got inspiration now. I was just surprised. So maybe that's still something to work on, right? More collaboration with the real world. What's important here is though also what I just said, I think, is that you really establish a relationship. So you don't just invite the company and be like, thank you for coming, you can do whatever, because your students won't benefit from that, right? So if someone comes to your class, works with you, comes to a conference, whatever you're doing, there must be a benefit for the students. So it's not just like I invited this company and then they presented a company, like, and what did the students get from that? A company presentation doesn't help at all, right? So, of course, they can have like 3 minutes to present a company in the beginning, like, hey, I'm from this company, we're doing this and that. No problem, obviously, right? Give them a picture, PR, no problem. But there needs to be a benefit for the students. And ideally, it's not just a one-off. like a one-off class. Like, I invited this class. I invited a guest lecturer. Ooh, that's it. The collaboration should be more. There should not be just a one-off thing. Like I love the example of my colleague, and so I hope it's okay that I share it. So he like. The guests that come to his class, for example, they very often then keep engaging with the students. Like same in my class. I give an example in a second as well. So he gave the example of like how they didn't just do a guest lecture. They had like a competition within the class, like a storytelling/video competition, and then the best one who won got picked, and then that one could actually then create that video in this case, marketing agency, and eventually that student actually won an internship there, stayed there, started to work there after graduation. So great story, right? And that's the same thing in my class too. Like I have a agency I work with, which is not a big agency, but it's a very dedicated agency. So they've been with me for now, I think, 3 years, maybe even 4. Like since I started this class actually. And so they've come every year. Like this year they came, and they brought like 5 people with them. Like it's fantastic. Like that, like the head of the office in Bangkok came. Then like they had like the specialist for different topics that they were talking about. They talked about data-driven marketing. So they had someone who talked about tracking, someone who talked about like the implementation, someone talked about strategies. Fantastic. And then in the end they had like a quiz also. And like a fun quiz, like an interactive quiz with the students, not just a paper quiz, right? So something interactive, something fun, gamification. And then it's like, okay, so the best ones, if you want to send, we have your name, contact us if you want to. You got an internship, which was great. And also here, like some of our students then ended up doing the internship and ended up working there for like some, then also big clients for that. Small agency, but big clients because very specific niche that they're in. Fantastic, right? So you need those dedicated collaborators, not just invite a guest lecture. They come for the pictures, like, hey, we did this CSR or whatever they want to call it, and thing with the university. Ooh, cool. And then they move on. You need really dedicated collaboration. And yes, it's a struggle, but yes, it's totally worth it. So that's why I was a bit perplexed that not everyone is doing that yet, right? So yes, you have to send lots of emails, lots of calls, whatever, WhatsApp messages late at night, but it's worth it. So, and there's no rocket science behind it. So all you need to do is really just to hustle. And we ask our students to work hard, so we should work hard too, right? So go on LinkedIn, go online, search like whatever company is dedicated in your field. Don't be blinded by just big names. Find the ones that are doing real cool stuff, and then just talk to them. And then you get them invited. You have have a few meetings, talk about it, and then also give them give them pointers. Just with your students, give them pointers, but don't tell them you have to do like a 3-hour lecture. Just tell them we have 3 hours, whatever. You don't need to fill 3 hours. Fill as much as you want and do whatever you really want to do. Like however you run workshops in your company, just do it with our students. Like I'll help you with anything you need. Ask me about like if I think that's a good idea, but don't just follow my lecture style. Do whatever you want, right? So and usually if I give the free hand to the companies that I invite, it turns out way better than when I tell them, yeah, you have to lecture for 3 hours or whatever. So when it comes to collaboration, again, it's very important, but you just have to do it. Like there's no rocket science behind it. So you just have to hustle. And so I think that's the main part that surprised me, because hustle, there's no talent, there's no nothing, you just have to do it. So just do it. Don't be like your students. Just do it. Let's get it done, and your students will benefit from it as well. That's not to say that you should now collaborate like in every single lecture. Obviously, now you still need to have your lectures. I'm not saying you have to talk for 3 hours, right? But there is room for normal lectures there, of course. Let's talk about this in one of the next podcasts. But some collaboration, whether it be, doesn't even need to be at your university. Like our campus is far away from the city, right? So I tell the companies, we come to you, no problem. Like take the students out of the classroom, for example, right? So that's no problem. So there's really nothing holding you back. do it. So I'm really curious to hear how you collaborate. What kind? Like I heard one cool thing now before I finish. One of my colleagues that I met at this workshop, he's teaching like something like marine biology and so on. I hope I'm not mistaken now. I just talked to so many people, which was really cool. My social battery also drained though, because I'm a very introverted person. So talking to so many people, I now need to recover over the weekend. But yeah, so that was really cool because I don't want to give away too much, so I'm thinking about like, but he said like, for example, teaching like marine biology, I'm sticking with this now, he's taking his students obviously to the sea. Like, yes, of course you do that, but that's awesome that you learn it like right there. And so you can do it with almost everything. I'm teaching like digital strategy, like marketing transformation, whatever, as one course, for example. I can take students, I'm not going to tell you where I take them, but I can take students to places, obviously. Next year we're gonna teach society / communication or society in the media, social diversity in the media. Sorry, I have so many syllables in my head right now. I'm also gonna take the students somewhere. So yeah, it's not gonna be the beach, not gonna be the sea, but still gonna take them somewhere. So be creative. That's what you ask from your students. So be creative and hustle. Do it. Let me know like what collaborations you have, what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're frustrated, like what keeps you motivated. Do you have tricks like how you get cool companies to collaborate? Shout out, let me know. It's at FunkitPod on social media, funkitpod@gmail.com via email, or just like in the comments wherever you watch / listen to this. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this thing. Rate it. That would be really cool if you would rate it too. And well, stay safe, take care, give good grades, but not too good. And we'll talk soon. Sawadee Kap.